Climate change deal was clinched with the approval of India, China and the US after days of tough negotiations in Paris, with a legally binding pact seeking to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and committing $100 billion a year from 2020 to help the developing nations. The deal ends decades-long rows between rich and poor nations over how to carry out what will be a multi-trillion-dollar effort to cap global warming and deal with consequences already occurring. Earlier, French President François Hollande had called Prime Minister Narendra Modi in an apparent bid to persuade India to go with the deal. Welcoming the deal, Javadekar said that the world leaders have a chapter of hope in the lives of 7 billion people. It took 196 nations' Herculean efforts and tough negotiations to finally come out with the adoption of a landmark climate change deal with approval of India, China and the US. The legally binding pact reached late on Saturday night as COP21 seeks to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and committing $100 billion a year from 2020 to help developing nations. However, following US objections, the final commitment part was not included in the legally binding section of the deal.
I now invite the COP to adopt the draft decision entitled Paris Agreement, which features in the document. I'm looking around the room. I see that the reaction is positive. I don't hear any objection. The Paris Agreement for climate is accepted.
The Paris Accord sets a target of limiting warming of the planet to well below 2 degrees Celsius compared with the Industrial Revolution, while aiming for an even more ambitious goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius. However, India felt that more could have been achieved from the agreement, as India had been demanding mitigation, adaptation, finance and access to technology.
While give and take is a normal in negotiations, we are of the opinion that the agreement could have been more ambitious. We share the concerns of several friends that agreement does not put us on the path to prevent temperature rise below 2 degrees, and that actions of developed countries are far below their historical responsibilities and fair share.
US President Barack Obama also hailed the landmark climate accord.
An enduring agreement that reduces global carbon pollution and sets the world on a course to a low-carbon future. A few hours ago, we succeeded. We came together around the strong agreement the world needed. We met the moment.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon welcomed the agreement, saying that it would ensure leaving a more habitable world to them and to future generations, while the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change termed the agreement as one of the long-term visions.
When historians look back on this day, very historic day, they will say that global cooperation to secure a future safe from climate change took a dramatic U-turn here in Paris. Today, we can look into the eyes of our children, our grandchildren, and we can finally tell them that we have joined hands to bequeath a more habitable world to them and to future generations.
It is an agreement of conviction. It is an agreement of solidarity with the most vulnerable. It is an agreement of long-term vision.
Scientists have warned that the envisaged national emissions cuts will not be enough to keep warming to less than 2 degrees Celsius. The deal, to take effect from 2020, ends decades-long rows between rich and poor nations over how to carry out what will be a multi-trillion-dollar effort to cap global warming and deal with consequences already occurring. Bureau Report, DD News.